somebody like me finds that they're doing really well on desiccated thyroid and lifestyle choices and, removing the seed oils and having a pro-metabolic diet, which I've been having now for a few years, do we say we keep the desiccated thyroid forever? Or can there ever be a point of healing from hypothyroid issues? Or are we a bit stuck with it?
We're definitely not stuck. We're definitely not stuck. You can absolutely get to a point where you can start to lower that dose. And, this is one of the reasons why while we're using the thyroid, we want to continue to monitor our symptoms and, monitor the blood tests over time. Because what we might find is that, the TSH levels get too low, T3 levels might get too high. And that could be a sign that we can start to decrease at that point. But also, we don't have to wait for that point. We can start to slowly lower the desiccated thyroid once we're in that place where we're really feeling optimal. Our motility is good. That was one that I didn't talk about as a hypothyroid symptom, but constipation is a major hypothyroid symptom. Um, so when we're at a point where our motility is good, our energy is good, we're sleeping well, mood is good, hair is growing thicker, reproductive hormones are all in a good spot. That's a time where once we've hung out there for a little bit, we can start to lower that dose. And oftentimes, as long as we do it kind of slowly and carefully, our thyroid gland will kick back into gear and be producing the thyroid hormone, so we don't need to rely on the exogenous source.
hmm I've had a lot of clients, Jay, that have really struggled with fertility, particularly, in the later 30s, maybe early 40s, and found out that they had issues around their thyroid. Could you quickly walk us through why that might be a challenge when trying to conceive and why thyroid is so important for fertility?
There are so many, so many connections there on the female and the male side too, because
Oh, that's refreshing to hear. I would like to hear both actually, because we tend to really focus on the female side, but I
mhm.
would really love to hear the males as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, I mean, obviously the frequency of issues for fertility for women is really high as well, and PCOS, endometriosis. I mean, there's so many related issues there that are really common. But also, infertility on the male side is becoming increasingly common too, and it's normally not really looked at. So, if someone is struggling to conceive, we definitely want to be looking at both sides. And thyroid hormone is super important for both. One of the main reasons that we were talking about earlier is the impact of T3 on our steroid hormone production. The steroid hormones include our reproductive hormones. So if we don't have enough T3 there, we literally can't convert cholesterol to pregnenolone, which is the precursor to all of those other hormones, including progesterone and estrogen as well. And so without enough, and testosterone too. And so without enough T3, we're bottlenecked, right? We just can't produce enough of those hormones, not to mention a number of other areas. So one is the impact of T3 on motility and liver function. When those are problems, we can't actually detoxify effectively. And that doesn't just mean pesticides and heavy metals and things like that, but it also means hormones. And excess estrogen is a major problem for a lot of women with fertility issues. And it's a major driver of PCOS and endometriosis and infertility itself. And when we have excess estrogen, the way we clear it out is we detoxify it in the liver, and then it goes into the bile, which goes into the intestines, and then we clear it out when we have the bowel movement. When we have slow motility and poor detoxification in the liver, we can't even get it from the liver to the intestines. But even if we do, because of slow motility, we tend to reabsorb a lot of that estrogen. So we're not actually able to clear it out. The other factor that comes in there is we end up really commonly with microbial issues like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. We end up with overgrowth in the large intestine too. Those also cause an increase in enzymes that cause the reabsorption of estrogen. So they also prevent us from clearing estrogen. And they also produce really toxic compounds like endotoxin, which is also not only going to be a major issue for the liver and the thyroid, but also for infertility. There's a major connection between endotoxin levels, due to high levels of harmful bacteria in the gut, and infertility, endometriosis, and also a lot of other chronic health issues like high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, neurodegenerative issues. So these are some really fundamental problems. If you want to look at a connection between our fundamental metabolic issues and all of these other areas, We can look at this major correlation between hypothyroidism and pretty much every chronic health issue, or endotoxin and pretty much every chronic health issue. So it's this really integrated web that on one hand sounds complicated with all these different mechanisms and pathways, but the reality is it all comes back to our fundamental state. If we're nourishing ourselves well and we're not overstressed and we're sleeping well and we're supporting, good gut health, we're not eating a lot of PUFA, not only does that help our thyroid state, but it also helps everything else that goes into health, and that also directly translates to fertility. But yeah, I mean, hypothyroidism is really tightly tied with these sorts of fertility issues for sure.